Well, old and crackadated here, and this is how I rehab my hands after my tragic poisoning. I couldn't play the guitar at all, so I started doing drums. It worked out pretty good, but I've got a problem with my leg. It's hard to operate the bass drum because I'm missing half my right thigh from Vietnam, and it causes a problem with I can do a few licks and then it freezes up. So that's the reason I tuned this tom pretty low. And of course I'm surrounded with all kind of cymbals, and I've got everything arranged where I can come off of a cymbal to a drum. And the way I hold my drumstick, where they'll bounce. And that way I got back some use of my fingers that way, because I could always tighten them if I need to make a single beat. I use the tom instead of having to use my foot, because just a few times and it gets cramped up. And this is a set of Millennium drums from Tobin in Germany. And this is as good as any Gretsch set I've ever seen. The sound is fantastic on them. They're good solid drums. I use a lighter stick to get a little more bounce, but then I go to the heavy sticks when I want to get a little more solid hit. But that helped me get the use of my hands back for the guitar. Of course, it gets my arms cramped up. The muscles from that, whatever chemical it was, it left the muscles just rigid. They cramp up real quick, and that caused me not to be able to make notes on the guitar. Oh, but it gives good exercise to the hands, especially I got my fingers where I could move. Couldn't use all of them, but it helped. But that's enough noise for tonight, but just thought I'd show you my drum set. And this is how I got back the use of my hands, because I couldn't even hold anything. And to begin with, I was having to grip the sticks like this, and then I got where they would flex. So it's pretty good rehab exercise. If you've got a paralyzed set of hands, you got to do something to get them working again. Well, I did through trying to play some stuff on the drums, and my hands would just be all clenched up, muscles be spasming. But I've been working on this 3 years trying to get back used to my hands. And I was a fairly decent drummer, but I can't get the rhythm like I used to. My hands, well, every once in a while they'll start doing great. I came up here the other day, and yeah, I was beginning to get some pretty good rhythm. But I've been doing quite a bit on them today, and they're pretty much cramping up, but I should have recorded some this morning instead of waiting till this evening. But it is good exercise. It got my shoulders back to working again. I tell you, I was in serious condition, and I didn't know that I was going to recover at all. It really painful, not the physical pain, it's the emotional pain of all of a sudden not being able to play instruments you used to play, and I play quite a few. But even on guitar, the way I sound, some people think it's great, but no, I think my playing is horrible. My guitar skill is gone, and I'm working as hard as I can to get it back, and working on my voice too. I may do a little singing, maybe not on this second part of this video, but I'm reaching for that soul voice again, and it's a real struggle. Yeah, I spent a lot of time playing music in my lifetime. Started pretty young and was pretty successful, whatever I wanted to do. But I've seen other people that have had strokes and bad physical injuries, broken arms, and the guy that got his all chopped up with a boat motor, he got back where he could play guitar again. And not like he did before, but it sure was better than not being able to play at all. I've got a little unique setup on these cymbals here. Got just about any sound I need. And I bought these cymbals, most of them from Tobin, and the rack. the mic stands. Of course, I've got another mount here for another cymbal, and I've got another one for a post there. And this is the other side of my studio. I've got a Hughes and Kettner Black Spirit 200 right here with the pedal to go with it. And then I've got Harley Benton with two Celestion 30 speakers in it. Of course, I've got another computer here. I've got the keyboard turned upside down. I came over and turned on while ago, and the batteries were dead in the keyboard and the mouse. It's got enough to show the light, but it won't operate the arrow. And I got a set of drum mics over here in the box. Let me pull them out. And of course, you couldn't guess where they're from. It says either T-Bone. That's the Tobin brand of microphones, but I got a full set of drum mics there. I gotta get them set up. Of course, here's my drum dial for adjusting the drum heads. Yeah, when I got trying to play the bass drum and my leg would get to jumping, I couldn't do very many licks, so I decided to tune the tom down to low where I could actually use it as a bass. Works out pretty good. And I've also got a nice red line amp up there. And of course, I've got some T-Bone mice. I've got an MB85 T-Bone and a set of headphones. I've got them over on the other side of the studio. AKGs. And I've got a couple of monitors up here. I keep them covered with plastic to keep the dust off of them. Just uncover them when I need to use them. And of course, who would be without a pair of sweatpants hanging on the cymbal rack? When it gets cold up here, I just slip them on and stay warm. I've got a stack of drumsticks over here. And I've used this as a recording studio in the past. Got a good little mixer in it, and it does a pretty good job. And I still have not found my Shure 58 microphone yet. I've got two of them that I haven't found. Found one of the Shures, but it's more an instrument mic than it is a vocal mic. And I haven't found the little case I put them in, because I bought another 58 and already had one, and I had them in a blue suitcase, and the blue suitcase is empty, so I don't know what to put them in. I guess that's the reason I'm old and crackadated. Well, a while ago. Well, I thought I'd tell a little story to finish up this video. Used to work construction, putting up metal buildings, and had this guy. We were all the time pulling jokes on him. Of course, he was a joker himself, and him and myself and another guy were painting flashing on a building. We were up about 65 feet on the edge of this roof. And he asked me why I wouldn't stand up on the edge of the roof. Of course, I walked 4-inch beams 60 to 100 feet off the ground with air on both sides of me all the time. And he couldn't understand why I wouldn't stand up on the edge of that roof. And I told him, I said, well, I've got an artificial leg between my hip and my knee. Oh, I understand now. Well, I knelt back down there and started painting the flashing. He said, is that really so? I asked the other guy. He said, yeah, he's got an artificial leg between the knee and the hip. So we go on back to painting the flashing. A whole 10 minutes later, he says, wait a minute, how can you have an artificial leg between your knee and your hip and the bottom part of your leg be alive? And of course we busted out laughing. Took him that long to figure that out. And the reason I could walk a beam, well, if you got nothing to air on both sides, and if that knee buckles, you just fall straight down and you're on that beam. But if you're on the edge of a building and you step close to that edge and that right leg buckles, you're going to land on half on the building and half in the air, and you're going to flip off and hit the ground. So I never would stand on the edge of a building, but I walk steel beams all the time. Well, installing the trusses and everything, and did quite a few buildings. Yeah, but it was 65 feet to the ground on the side of that building. But he couldn't understand why I wouldn't stand up. But it took him 10 minutes to figure out you can't have an artificial leg between the knee and the hip. I enjoy putting up those metal buildings. I rode the beams on the crane and connected them to the columns in the middle of the buildings. I was a pretty good connector. Of course, I knew all the different operations, and most of the time I took care of the equipment and all the parts to the building, which several hundred parts, and I knew the numbers to all of them and what stack they were in, because I supervised the unloading, so everything was in order. Anybody that needed a building part, I just tell them what row and what stack, and they'd go right to it and get it. Yeah, this has been some mighty good exercise to be able to get my hands working, because I couldn't, and that holding it like that allowed me to flex those fingers until they got to where they would work, and I still had trouble with this finger right here trying to make a chord on the guitar. But by using it to flip the sticks on the drums, it allowed me to I'm going to get a double pedal for this bass drum. That way it'll have another pedal on the right hand side that I can use my right foot to operate it with. Well, that'd be enough of that. Well, that's my little story for tonight. So I'm going to make a camping video next, I believe. Well, I've got to make a video for a subscriber that asked about what the knobs do on the guitar. So I'll be making a guitar and explaining so she can understand what the knobs are on an electric guitar. Well, I guess old and crackadated is just about cracked up tonight. I have a few struggles with my health. I was getting along pretty good till that poison by that bottled water. And acetone-like compounds can do a number on your brain cells and your muscles. But that's the way life goes. Yeah, I got wounded pretty bad in Vietnam. Anti-tank rounds, those RPGs, of course. I guess I was fortunate they didn't have the RPG 4s instead of the RPG 2, the old. Because the RPG 2s tended to be dud half the time. The rockets wouldn't fire, and the thing might land on the ground and it might go off when it hits, or it might go off 30 minutes later. You never could tell. But a cluster of 6 of them in a command detonated mine on the edge of a bunker complex is what got me. My heart didn't stabilize for over 2 weeks. It got to 212 and as low as 22, what I saw on the chart. May have gotten lower or higher. But you're not far from fibrillation when it gets to 212. Much more than that, and your heart won't pump blood. I didn't know where I was going to make it for a while, but finally got my heart rate stabilized. And here I am. Well, old and crackadated is a little more crackadated than he was yesterday. And if it can, it will.